Attention, all passengers. Special announcement. New destinations have been announced. Please be advised and plan accordingly. All aboard. Attention, all passengers. Special announcement. New destinations have been announced. Please be advised and plan accordingly. All aboard. Attention, all passengers. Special announcement. New destinations have been announced. Please be advised and plan accordingly. All aboard. Attention, all passengers. Special announcement. New destinations have been announced. Please be advised and plan accordingly. All aboard. Attention, all passengers. Special announcement. New destinations have been announced. Please be advised and plan accordingly. All aboard. Attention, all passengers. Special announcement. New destinations have been announced. Please be advised and plan accordingly. All aboard. Attention, all passengers. Special announcement. New destinations have been announced. Please be advised and plan accordingly. All aboard.
Hello, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can hear me, kindly say "I" in the comment section. Hi. Hello. Okay, that's cool. So today we're going to be discussing about Flutter Festival. So before I move on to our first speaker here, so I would like to say like one or two things. I don't know, but let me quickly explain what Flutter Festival is all about. So generally, Flutter Festival is kind of festival that's do organized by Flutter team in order to celebrate the progress of what the impact of what Flutter has done in the whole community. Learn new things, do amazing stuff. Do a lot of workshop. As a beginner, you could learn one or two things. As a intermediate, you learn one or two things. You network, you do a lot of stuff. So here today we're going to be having our own section where we have like two speakers that is going to be talking with us about what Flutter is all about. Joe is going to be really, really amazing. Like it's more let me say technical section where you get to learn how to like manage your stage, do a lot of stuff inside your Flutter project. So I'll be calling on stage now. I'll be calling Mohammed to quickly introduce himself, then move to the talk section. Right? Mohammed, are you available now?
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Yeah, cool. You can continue.
Okay, hi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Muhammad Qasim, and I am a Flutter engineer. Recently, I work as a freelance developer and on contract with another company. And today, I will be talking about SQLite in Flutter with stacked architecture. Let me share my screen first. Okay. Can anyone confirm if you can see my screen? Hi, Mushtek.
Sorry, I can't see your screen. Okay,
You
I'm
can't see.
coming. Let me,
Okay.
yeah,
You can see it now.
yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll just move on then. So as I said before, I'll be talking about SQLite in Flutter with stacked architecture. So now first of all, let's talk about what is stacked and what is SQLite, because those two are more of the main keywords in this talk. So when we talk about SQLite, yeah, the first thing that will probably come to mind will be a local database on a device. Yeah, and coming from Android native development, you may think, or you may, okay, it's fair enough to think that SQLite is kind of hard or difficult to work with. But then one of the big flex of Flutter is that most of these libraries have been um, have been made into packages where some kind of abstraction have been made over it, and which makes it kind of very easy to use. So SQLite is more like a database engine for almost every device in the world. Almost, not all though. But SQLite is very fast. It's backwards compatible, and it's across multiple platforms. In fact, every Android device uses it, every iOS device uses it. So even in some TVs, SQLite is being implemented there. So it's basically used to save data onto the user's device. Then you can read from the database, you can write to it, you can update, you can delete. So more of that. Now moving to Stacked. Stacked is basically an architecture and a state management tool at the same time, and it's been powered by providers change notifier under the hood. But the beauty of Stacked architecture is that it's it's using MVVM model, view model. And if you are the architecture kind of person, you probably like MVVM. I like MVVM a lot. It's more like you get to separate your models away from the views, away from the view models. So everything that's related to your business logic and everything like that will be inside the view model. And the thing is, in MVVM and Stacked, it's safe to say that you have one view model per view. So each single view has its own view model, unless you don't need to use any business logic in your view. Maybe you extracted a widget out. You really don't need to have a view model for that. So moving on. Okay, yeah. So this session will be more of a hands-on session. We'll not code along. I've already created a project to explain this concept, but I'll very much like to show you the code. That to me, it will be easier to grab and understand. So as I said, we're using Stacked, and the very first thing you would like to do is go to your favorite project directory on your system, then create a Flutter project. So here we're creating SQLite Stacked demo project. So now after you've already created your project, you've pop get. So you will need to add SQLite package stacked services under your dependencies. And the shortcut for that will be just open the terminal in the root project, in the root folder of your project. Then you run flutter pop add, then you add the name of each of these packages, then you hit enter, then it will just fetch it with the version number, everything will add it to your pop spec. So the next thing we'll need, right, will be the dev dependencies. That will be the build runner and the stack generator. These two packages are very, very useful in stacked architecture, and of course some other things too. But here it's basically used to generate the stacked classes you will need. You will need to write those classes on your own. So the difference between the command for this is you just add a -d switch before the name of the package to add it to your prospect. So, all right. So after you've added them, this is what it should look like. Like I definitely will have some things before this place and some things after this place, but this just here, this is just what we need. All right. So I said it before, we are going to do a quick code walkthrough. So it's just a project that is using you like to save notes to the phone's database. Okay, all right, so we're here. I hope you can still see my screen mistake, right? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So the
Yeah,
first all right, thank you. So the first step into setting up Stacked for your project will be to create okay, let me collapse all of this first so don't. All right. So in your lib folder, create a folder, app folder, then you create app.dart. This class here, normally we don't need a class, all right? But then as with annotations, after adding the stacked packages to your project, we need this annotation. And as with annotation, it has to be attached to a class. So this is basically why we have this class here. We don't need to write anything in here. So you annotate this class with the stacked app, then the roots, we can do this later, but these are the pages you have in your application. And this initial is more like letting the engine know that this will be the first view, right? Then another beautiful thing about stacked architecture is that especially this navigation in Flutter, sometimes it may be quite confusing or unnecessarily difficult sometimes. So there's a service that comes with stacked, and that's navigation service, more like an abstraction over the actual navigation system in Flutter. So it comes with it. You just need to come here and make it a lazy singleton. This is just the meaning of lazy singleton. Anyways, it's just that. You don't want this service to be instantiated unless you call it. It will be instantiated the first time you call it. So here we are just creating the navigation service. Then the snack bar service, that's one of the packages that comes with services, sorry, that comes with stacked. And I think we also have dialog service, bottom sheet service. That's more like it. So then this database service, I created this service myself. And that's another beautiful thing about Start. You can create your own service, then you inject it. So here, let's move over to these two files. Don't worry about them yet. We'll talk about them. So this database service, yes. Yeah, so this database service is where we get to use our SQLite package to handle all SQL operations. Right? And the reason why we're using Presolve here is that we want this database service to be created on app instantiation, and for everything to get the instance of this database before it is even called the first time. So here we're just creating a new database, yeah, trying to open the database. But then if we don't have the database on the phone before, like if it's the app's first run, it will create a database. This is a create function that will create a table for notes in the database. So as with SQL commands, you have to use create table, then you have to more like create some kind of table column for the notes. So in the notes we have the ID type, then we have the title, right, and we have the content. So this is more like just letting the database engine know that and the type of data that we saved in this column. So here we have a function to create notes, and we just call an instance of the database, and we tell it to insert this node that we are passing in through here. So it will convert it to JSON first before being inserted into the table. So and as I said, we're going to keep this very simple. We don't want to don't want to complicate things by making the app too robust. You just get the overall concept. If you get this, you can expand on it yourself. So here we're trying to read from the database. Yes, and we're trying to read all the nodes that we have right on the database of the form. So it's just going to query, and here we're using want to order by the ID. Like when you create a DB here, a note here, you have ID from 1, 2, 3 to auto increment like that. So here we're just telling to sort by ascending order and return all the nodes in the database as a map. So this is just to close the DB. So now when you have this service and you've added this two line, then you run the build runner. That's when I said build runner is more like generate what you need for you instead of having to write it on your own. So yeah, the command for build runner is quite long, and I don't think I've been ever able to put it in my head. But this is the command to run the build runner. So this will just delete any output that are conflicting. Like if one is conflicting with the other, the generated files, you just delete it off, like remove it and replace it with the one that is being generated. So when you run this, it will generate this locator, the darts, and this is more like the service locator and the router, like the routes in your app. So this is used by the navigation service. All right, so we're clear with this and we're clear with this service. Now, so now let's move on to the actual views. I'm sorry, I will not be able to run emulator. My system can power that, and my phone it's a Redmi. I don't know why it's not screencasting to my system. But I'll push the code to GitHub, then I'll release the GitHub link later. So as I said, with Stacked, we have one view model per view. So here we're just having two screens, right? The first screen would be this is what is set to initial, and this will just display all the nodes that we have in the database on the screen. This will happen immediately you open the app. And then we have another screen where you can add to the nodes you have. So let's concentrate more on the view model where we have the business logic. So here, when the application on the first run, right? Oh, let me open this view so you get to see Stacked work. So here, and another beautiful thing with Stacked, all right, I'm sorry for this, just keeps popping up, is that you know we're using Stacked to manage state, right? So you don't actually need to use a stateful widget again. You use a stateless widget, then there's these two methods in Stacked. It's either use reactive or non-reactive. So reactive is basically you telling the Stacked package that the screen will need to rebuild as for stateful widget, right? And then for stateless, where your widget tree doesn't need to rebuild, use non-reactive. So because this screen will need to rebuild, that's why we're using reactive. And here we're passing this view model of the view. We're passing it here. So it will know that it has a view model, and this is the only view model it's going to use. So, and this is the code that gets called when the screen is initiated for the first time, as we have init state for stateful widget. Yeah, this is called when the model is ready for the first time. So let's come here. So we have this. So on init, right, the first thing that we run is, yeah, so this is a database service. Now we're using it with the locator from here. Then sorry for that. Then here we use the database service and we call the read all nodes. So we are querying all the nodes in the DB and we want to show it to the screen, right? But then if you have no nodes in the DB, it won't show any nodes on the screen. We just tell you no nodes available, right? And if you come back here, we're using a stream view model. So this will constantly listen to the database for any change. When you add a new node, it will automatically update the screen on its own. So beautiful thing, you don't need to call set state or anything like that. So here is where we are listening to the read all nodes function. So this gets called every 1.5 seconds and it will return the stream. Then we can fetch from the stream and show it on the screen. So we're using a list view builder here, and we're showing the title in a list style. We're showing the title and the content. So now let's move to where we are saving. We just have text fields and we have button to save the note to the DB. So here what's happening. So we are saving. We are checking first, right? If the note title we are trying to save from the text field is not null and the note content is not null. So this is just to prevent saving a null value to a database, to the SQLite database. So if it's not null, we pass the note content and the note title. We pass it to the model, to the note model, and then we pass it to the create note of the database service. So this is basically like this will basically convert this note object to a JSON first. It's in the create note function, and then save it to the database. Then it will go back to the first screen. And this is just it. You call navigation service, then you tell it back. It knows where to go back to just check the navigation stack and pop, just go back. So that's basically an overview of everything we have here. Um, okay, of course, yeah, I forgot. Of course, you have to add the ungenerate routes. Like it's basically calling the stacked router. We have it here, and to generate the route and know where you want to navigate to. So that's basically a quick walkthrough. I didn't want to take spend too much time on that. So of the project we used. Yeah. So quick points to note, right, is that Stack works well with the MVVM architecture, and seriously, when you have each view model per view, it makes your code super neat, and your code will be very maintainable. Like you don't need to refactor a lot of things when you have to make changes to your code. You just go to the view model that's connected to a view, then you do everything you need to do in here and that in there, and that way your code gets to be neat and pretty. Yeah, that's the thing for you. Another thing is that you can always create your own services, right? Like how we created database services now. Like I worked in a project where there needs to be some kind of synchronization between the database and the remote API. So you can create your own service that will check every time if there's something in the database that has not been sent to the API before. So if it's there, you fetch it, then you send it to the API, you get a response, then maybe you need to update something back in the database that, okay, I've synchronized this or something like that. So you can create your service, and service is just basically a class that does something. So, and about SQLite, right? There are other alternatives actually to SQLite. So, but the thing is, to me, SQLite or SQLite, right, is the best for when you have structured data, right? You can use Hive and you can use shared prefs, but each of them has their own limitations. And SQLite too has its own limitation. It's just that this is what I see as the best to use for when you have structured data, or a very structured data where you have when you are nesting data in data inside data inside data. So for more on understanding stacks and SQLite is the name of the package for Flutter. You can check these links, and for everything, actually for every single thing you may want to know about stacks, or okay, let me say almost every single thing you may want to know about stacked architecture, you can basically just check this website, fieldstacks.com. So you get to see a lot of tutorials how to use bottom sheets, dialog, snack bar, SQLite, Firebase, everything like that. So and the owner of the website is actually the main guy behind this architecture. And also you can check for tutorials on SQLite. You can check Johannes Mike on YouTube. He has a tutorial on SQLite in Flutter too. And for the package, the stacked package, yeah, this package is more like the page on pub.dev is basically like a documentation. You get to see the different types of view model we can extend. Like there, I think I used stream view model, right? So you can check for other view models that you can use in your applications to whichever one suits your needs. So thank you very much for having me. And if you have any questions, you can ask, or you can feel free to reach out. That's my mail, and that's my Twitter handle, and Kwaisim is my name, my username on GitHub. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful for the opportunity. Much tech.
Okay, hello everyone. I think we can actually drop some. If you have any question, just drop it in the comment section. Let's see uh, what are some challenges or maybe you have some hidden stuff like you need to know about Flutter, you can quickly drop it in the comment section. Then we'll get to answer your question. So So basically, we just had one emergency issue now. Like the other speaker supposed to join us and have one or two conversation with us, but you won't be able to do so. So sorry about that. But in the meantime, I think we can engage in one or two things by just ask your question. Um, and secondly, okay, before I forgot, maybe you are a beginner in Flutter, you want to learn one or two things. I mean, you need some courses or something to get started. Uh, we have a lot of course that you can actually go through. Just send a message to us on WhatsApp, or you can drop your message in the comment section here. Waiting for the question. Question. Hello. Hello. Okay. Okay. I can see that. Like. Thank you very much for the section, sir. It's really a good one. I don't have much question because I'm a newbie. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool, man. I think what we're going to do now is just have some little chat about Flutter for those who are just joining. I'll be the one anchor this session actually. Just say one or two things. So basically, Flutter. If you don't really have much understanding about what Flutter is just a framework, or let's say, just a framework that helps you to build. Uh, don't let me use mobile app. Let me say, it's just a framework that helps you to build your app across multiple platform. When I mean multiple platform, I mean we're talking about different devices, starting from like mobile, uh, TV, wristwatch, all these smartwatch. Web, and so on and so forth. In fact, to the extent like using that, you can actually like work into different stuff. I mean, if you are basically writing that, yeah, that is very good in all this kind of environment. Even you can go for, there's this particular, okay, you can use it as a backend. I mean, you can use that as backend as a service. So that's what Flutter does. So Flutter use that as the main programming language. Programming language. So what happens behind the scenes is more like when you write your that code behind the scene, there's something we call Flutter engine. So Flutter engine compile your that code into what your device understand. I mean, if I mean what your device understand, I'm talking about native language. Native language. Every device has what they understand. If you are using web application, let's say you are browsing using browser. So your browser understands JavaScript, HTML, CSS. So if you run your Flutter code for web, so what Flutter engine does is it converts your Flutter code into JavaScript code that your that your browser understand. And if it's let's say Android or iOS, so it converts your that code into Java or Kotlin. And when it comes to iOS, it converts it to like C, I think C plus plus or Swift. You get, but there is an option for you where you get to like choose whether you want your code to be in Kotlin or Java, or whether you want it to be Swift or what or C plus plus. when it comes to compilation, because in the environment you can actually write some native codes that you can inject into your platform. You get, that's a little bit about Flutter. And I think the first release of Flutter started from the, I think, is it 2018 Google I/O. So that's when Google Flutter team actually uh, launched the first version of Flutter. Though Flutter has been running since, I mean, before then, but it happens to be like in that day, it was that day that Flutter team talked about what Flutter is all about, and they name it Flutter because the pre-release version of Flutter wasn't actually Flutter, and it doesn't even support multiple platforms. It's only run on uh, Android. And another thing, another keynote that you need to hold is like, why do Flutter team actually choose that as a programming language for Flutter? It's more like there's a lot of advantages that Flutter team consider when before choosing that as a programming language behind the scene for Flutter, because uh, many people will be like, why Flutter team doesn't choose Kotlin? Because if you look at the trend right now, you see like Kotlin is now more than what people know in the last 2 years. In Kotlin now, there is uh, a lot of stuff now that make it easy for you to build your app UI. You get, even now, I currently I heard like you can even write cross-platform on your Kotlin code now. Like it supports, there's some packages that you can use to build for iOS using Kotlin, right? So the question now is like, why don't I mean, why Flutter team doesn't choose Kotlin? Why do they go for that? So looking at that, that is more like a comprehensive language that gives you a lot of multiple options, because that has a built-in, I mean, a built-in functionality that helps you to write a code that can be compiled into a JavaScript code. So, and that JavaScript code, you can use it for either web application or backend service. So, looking at all this, it makes it more easy. Yeah, it makes it more easy to achieve some of these goals. Another strategies is when you look at your at Flutter at that precisely. I mean, so that's actually support like two compiler. I mean, when I'm talking about compiler, is it means like during the runtime, what happens? So there's something we call just in time. I mean, so just in time is another compiler that you use. I mean, if you are running your that code, there's something. If you are running your Flutter app, there's something called, for those who are just joining. I mean, for those for newbie, or you're just stepping into Flutter or something. So there's something we call auto reload and auto restart. So Flutter use the advantages of just in time to have this particular stuff that we call just auto reload or auto restart. And the advantages of these two things is like, it helps you to keep your Flutter state and reload the whole widget within a seconds. And that's why in most of the content you will read today, they will tell you that Flutter is very, very fast when it comes to what compilation. So the advantages of this just in time is what makes Flutter to actually achieve this performance. You get. I think that's that about that, because I begin to like going deep into some stuff. So let me take us back to like some basic state. I mean, some basic stuff that we can understand. Yeah. So in Flutter, there's this thing that we normally say like, everything is a widget. Everything is what is a widget, right? Yeah. Because starting from your app bar, your bottom sheet, navigation, your tab bar, everything you have is what is a widget. I think another great stuff like why people even consider going for Flutter is more like Flutter give you some kind of customization that helps you to customize the whole part of your software. I mean, if it's mobile app, it gives you it gives you that advantages to customize every single part. You get. Then with that, you are fine. I mean, everything is good. So if you look at all these advantages, I think it's something worth moving into. I mean, something worth switching to. Like if you actually want to learn mobile development. Now, I made mention of widgets. So in Flutter, we have two types of widgets. There is stateless widget. There is stateful widget. You get. So basically, I'm not going to be showing any presentation. I'm just trying to like say one or two things for those who are just new into Flutter development, right? So from this now, you get to understand what Flutter is all about and what programming language Flutter use. And secondly, I talked about widgets, like how many type of widgets we have, how some of these things work. So I don't know, because of time, and second, and for the fact that I don't really have slide or something to show us. So I would like to say like let's quickly drop one or two questions. Then we have a lot of amazing people here. They can answer our question to the fullest. I mean, they will answer your question as far as they have deep understanding about it. And if you don't have much question, we can end the section now, right? But I won't like that. I would like us to ask some one or two questions. Let's interact together so that we get to understand one of the reason we have this section. Waiting for our question. Exactly, exactly. Using auto reload, it's more like within quick time, let's say within seconds, you get to see like the old stuff change, right? That's the advantages of auto reload in your Flutter development. I mean, because what happens is in auto reload helps you keep your states without losing your state and apply new changes immediately if you have new changes in your app. But when it comes to auto restart also works more like auto load, but it doesn't keep your changes because it will reload the entire widget for you. But the auto load is just more like it reloads the changes that you made and show you immediately. Immediately, you get. So if there's any question, uh, let's quickly drop it. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Like when it comes, by the time you learn about Flutter, there's something like you will love to go into. I mean, you will love to like go deep into like native code. Like what's happening? I do something now. You see the changes. What's actually happening? I mean, I need to know. So that I mean, that feeling will help you to more like, oh, I need to understand more bit of what native does. Because for you as a Flutter developer, you don't bother about what native code is all about. In fact, there's 99% that you don't need to know anything about native code. So you just write your Flutter, damn, you see your app. And you see your app. That's amazing. I mean, that's amazing. So for the fact that we don't have any question, I would like to end this section now. And concerning the second speaker, I'll share the link to his thoughts with us right now. I'm telling you, just give me some seconds. Just give me some seconds. I'm telling you. Hello. So that's the link to the second speaker speech. Thank you, everyone. If you have any question, you can join our
Um,
WhatsApp group. Uh, okay, I can hear you.
so I think there's a question in the chat.
Okay, I think one thing is that you need to do more. I mean, and one way to do more is you keep learning because talking about Flutter development, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, that you don't even know that that one exists. I mean, you just come across it and you be like, wow, this crazy. So that's one thing. Another thing is like what me I do normally do is I have a lot of amazing people I follow on GitHub. So what I do is I have some of them. I mean, I start some of them, so I normally get notification like some of them do some stuff. So I do go through it. Another thing is like for me, I do explore a lot of GitHub repository on what's happening. Then learn new design, learn new UI, stuff like that. So that's one thing. I mean, for you to learn and keep moving, I mean, um, so for you to like, you want to learn more, you want to learn more, you want to do more. The advantages of it is just like keep learning every day. At least in a day, do 1 hour. I mean, 1 hour practice. You get do 1 hour practice. Do a lot of stuff. Invest in yourself. And one way to invest in yourself is just keep learning because learning is kind of, I mean, something big. You get. And when it comes to software development, there is a stages. The stages you might be seeing yourself is kind of something different people see in you. So you might not even up to like junior level in some people's face. You get. So best thing is like do projects. There's one thing about Flutter is like one way to advance in your tech to advance in what you do is more like do practices more in UI development. Go to Behance, go to Dribble, go and explore a lot of different UI. Practice them, do them, design it. I mean, from there you will get to know a lot of stuff. You understand? So if you have any question, you can just send it on our WhatsApp group or something. On our WhatsApp group, you get. Then we'll get to answer your question. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to end this section now. I really appreciate our presence here. Thank you. I think maybe the next 2 weeks or something, we're going to be having more technical session. And I promise it's going to be more interesting. Thank you, everyone.